Hello everybody, today is the 28th of September and this is the Flux Dev Meeting. We don't have many items on the agenda right now, so definitely ask everyone with any ideas of things to discuss, please just add that into the agenda. I will share the link right here in case people don't have it. We generally go through like current GA and dev focus as one of the first things. As I haven't been around, I'm not sure what actually happened. Is there anyone that would like to discuss what happened since the last dev meeting? Well, I'll quickly show what is showing on the boards. But then, yeah, if there's anything else, feel free to just jump in and talk about it. All right, so the items that I can see that are these three. Let's just go one by one quickly. All right, yes. So I remember saying this a while ago. So basically on source controller, when you define a custom CA, we were not actually picking up the system CA. So all those, trusted CA bundles, they were being ignored. So that is now fixed. Max worked on that. I think this is, yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, cool. So that is one of the things. The other one, optimize OCR artifacts reconciliation. All right. Yeah, I'll probably need to go through this one in a bit more details later. Let me see if there's anything that was not on the prioritized board. And we can quickly go through that as well. Yeah, this happened a while ago. Yeah, so there are a few on the fuzzers. I think we briefly discussed fuzzers 2 meetings ago. On these changes here, they are mostly to get the fuzzers implementation using the Go native. That makes it a lot easier for us to kind of navigate the test, and also it makes it a lot easier to debug when something goes wrong. Yeah, you can literally, if you have an IDE, well, if you're running the code on an IDE, you can literally just run that, provided that you have a some use cases set, which that specific example doesn't have one. But the majority of them do have it. So yeah. Anyway, so that is those two changes of there. Let me move them across. We have this editor with max untar size. So basically, these are some changes, pretty much creating a new tar module, which would allow us to set what is the max amount of a tar size, of a tar file that we would untar, pretty much to limit resources and avoid things like OOM. So that is that. This is part of a recent discussion, which is about the Git2Go fork. So I had a fork on my own repository, on my own account, GitHub account, and that was mostly to confirm that some of the changes we made were working. After some discussion, we agreed to actually move that into a permanent Flux fork, which now lives on FluxD Git2Go. So that was created this week, and we moved the changes over there. And what we would be doing before the next release is pretty much ensure that we're using the Flux fork for that specific dependency before we do the next release. So that's and there is also this change around bipolarity conditions and ready condition summarization, which happened since the last meeting. Cool. That is it. Is there anything else folks want to cover about what has, what we're being focusing on, or anything to that point? I will just bring up one extra thing which is related to this. Sanskar have been working quite a lot on things around the Git consolidation. So we've been doing quite a few tests and all. There is still a few issues, and that's why it's not merged yet into source controller and image automation controller. But it is in the coming weeks we start using the new Git package and the new implementations that are all on the package repository instead of using the ones from source controller. On an initial assessment between yesterday and today, I noticed that the new implementation have some memory issues. So on average, my instance runs, has about like 100 megabytes to run through all the source controller reconciliations. So that is pretty stable in terms of residence allocations. Using the new version from package, that goes to 170. So we're trying to figure out why exactly that's the case. So that's one, like why we're increasing so much the memory usage. And another thing that we're investigating at the moment is that the intermittent crashes that we're having, especially on image automation controller, they seem to be fixed when we run against a libgit 2 version 1.5. So yeah, we're looking into potentially doing that upgrade. The upstream project does not support that version yet. So that's another thing that we might push into our own Git2Go fork. Yeah, so that is pretty much what I wanted to cover around that. If there's anything else folks want to cover around, GA or the current dev focus, now is the time. All right, so I'm assuming no one has anything else to cover on the aspect. Just a point of order. We always have an item on our agenda, which is asking folks to add any PRs that need attention. So if you have any PR that is related to GA or to the release candidate that we want to release in the coming months, please add that into the agenda so we can have a look on that sooner rather than later. Next point is from Kingdom. So yeah, feel free to take over.
Yeah, I added this about 10 minutes ago, and I found a message from the fellow Matthew, who says probably better to not bring this up at the dev meeting, actually, because it sounds like it's a Kubernetes bug. But if anyone is interested to work with Woven Planet, he was interested in support for they're building a cube builder controller of their own. They're building their own operators, and they found some issues around upgrading. But if it's a Kubernetes bug, it may not be worth it, but it is still open, so maybe it is worth it. I'm not sure. Anyway, if anyone is interested to follow up, these folks are in probably Asia time zones, so Matthew said he wouldn't be likely to be able to make it to the meeting today to ask for help himself, but He was in my DMs last night, so I thought I'd bring it up here. The issue was specifically around dry runs that were failing during the apply, and it looks like they found a pretty closely related Kubernetes issue. So I don't have any more details than that, but
yeah,
that's it for me.
Yeah, that sounds quite interesting. Today, and well, actually yesterday as well, I was having some issues that not quite as complicated as this one. In my case, was actually quite simple. So, for example, if you have a service and you're changing the type of the service, or you're defining an IP, or you're doing any of those changes that are forbidden for to be changed after the service has been created. So, for example, you define a cluster IP after the service is already created in the cluster. If you make that change on your declarative state, when Flux tries to apply it, it just can't, because it needs to delete the service to recreate it, which means in those specific scenarios, we need manual intervention, which is not great. So I think, we probably need to create an issue on that, because it's something that I actually experienced yesterday and this morning. But I would assume there are more instances of those things. I'm not sure what we can do about it, apart from being really trying to do like something very specific for the types we're keen on handling. But it's definitely something we want to recover from, ideally without manual intervention, because again, like if we are the source of truth for these states, for some of those objects, we should be able to recreate them transparently.
Yeah, so the issue that they were having, they brought it up to me because it was a feature they saw in Flux, that if you're building resources at a particular API version and you've decided now we need to release a new API version and you want to do a transparent upgrade from one version to another, it sounded like the issue they were having was with that transparent upgrade process. And initially they thought it might be an error with the way they're implementing it. Maybe it still is, but it might also be a Kubernetes bug.
Yeah, those two things do seem to be not necessarily directly connected, but yeah, it's kind of similar issue anyway. Cool. All right, that is brilliant. Is there any other issues? I think we're running out of topics on the agenda. Is there anything else that folks want to bring up?
I just added a docs PR. It would be good if I could get a review on this. If you've ever used the Helm release guide entry about creating values from a config map, we've had a number of people bring up that there is no example for how to use values from a SOPs generated secret in a Helm release. So I wrote that example. It was a little bit non-trivial. There were a few things to trip over. Otherwise, I don't think we would have needed the example, because you could have just straightforwardly substituted your secret generator in for the config map generator. But if you read the doc, you see it's not quite that simple. Some things around SOPs creation rules, mostly. And if you have a values.yaml file that's not well-formed Kubernetes secret. Anyway, if someone could give the Docker review, that would be great.
Brilliant. That is awesome. Anything else, guys? Anything else folks want to share, ask, or just talk about? Well, probably not. So, well, we will cut this meeting short then. So thank you very much, and you guys have a nice week.
Thanks, everyone.